Let's start with the basic, right? So, in order to get a job in Korea, and as in any other countries, you need to get through the job interview, right? But actually, to get to the job interview point, you need to prepare your resume or CV the way that they will be interested in hiring you as a foreigner in Korea. So, all these processes is part of what we do here in Habsida. We basically start with the scratch. So we help you to write resumes, because you need to write resume in Korea a certain way. It's not similar to what an international resume would look like. So you need to know all the, necessary things that you need to include. And also, in order to get through the job interview, there are also certain steps that are very cultural in South Korea that you also need to know to finally get the job. Okay. So today we're going to be sharing some of the tips about resume and job interviews. Maybe starting with the next slide. Right. So, as I said, the first step is to write your CV the way that they look at your CV and they get attracted, that they think that you're potentially a very good candidate for their company. But Korea is a very specific country. And if you don't know some insights about the culture, about the corporate work in South Korea, then they would probably not even call you for an interview, for the job interview, right? So, first rule, I guess, would be that your CV should probably be written in Korean, okay? You can also try to write it in English, and that's okay. And some companies, especially startups or companies that are having like young directors, people who maybe in their 30s or 40s, maybe those Koreans who've been abroad, they will go through it and they will also get interested. But most companies, most Korean companies, they require for you to submit the resume in Korean. Actually, maybe 20 years ago, it was a little different. When Koreans were hiring foreigners, they were very like, oh, you're a foreigner. It's okay that you do not speak Korean. It's fine that your resume is in English. They were still like, they were more open. But since the time changed and a lot of foreigners came to South Korea, and a lot of those foreigners, they learned Korean and they know how to speak Korean. The companies also severed their rules in terms of resume and presentation. So basically now you need to prepare your resume in Korean, so then you can at least get the chance that they go through what you wrote and they will consider you. As I said, you can try in English for some certain companies or maybe some international like companies that are Korean companies, but they want to hire specifically maybe for international branches, then English resume is okay. But I would definitely recommend to have both. Now let's talk about this. I know that in many Western countries, it's not required to put your photo on your resume, and it's okay, right? Basically, it's this kind of rule that people look at your skills mostly on your background, and it's not a very nice thing, right, to judge someone by their appearance. Now, in Korea, story is a little different because they require for you to have a photo on your resume. And aside from that, the photo should also look certain way, right? So you might get surprised. But yes, they look at the photo and they also consider the way you look, okay? And this is not only about if you are like pretty or not pretty, if you're good looking or not. It's more about the energy, the vibe of your photo, right? So if they look at your photo and they sense, that you are a friendly, I don't know, nice person, there's a high chance they would be more interested in having a job interview with you, rather if your photo sends like a, kind of grumpy vibe, let's say, right? And so for that reason, it's very normal in Korea to get professional photo to be put on your resume. And so you go to a photo studio, you get a photo like basically like you do for your passport. And it's also normal to a little Photoshop your photo, right? And actually Korean photo studios that do take your photo, they know it and they do it for you, basically. So if you are applying from abroad, please just keep in mind that yes, you need to first put your photo, but also your photo should be nice. You should look like I'm not saying that you should be all like smiley and but you should look nice and neat For girls, I would recommend not to have like your hair straight like this. It should be, in a ponytail or something very neat. And yes, for guys, it should be in the suit. So yes, it's basically just like any other photo that you do for passport or for other documents. Yes, and they look at it, and I know it might be a bit strange for people who live abroad, but yes, it's just a reality. So please keep that in mind too. Okay, now let's talk about what you're gonna put, right, as a content in your resume. I'm sure we all have different experiences, right? And some of the experience are very useful, and you can definitely put them. Some of them you should probably not put them. And also, what to put and what not to include. You need to know a little bit about Korean reality again and Korean like corporate culture in general, right? Let's talk about exaggeration, because in order to make your resume look attractive, sometimes you need to maybe make things, let's say your working experience, instead of making it like a year, maybe it's better to make it a little longer, right? Because many companies, when they hire in Korea, they want to see that you are, let's say, an experienced person, but they also want to see that you are dedicated to one company. So let's say if you have an experience of working here and there, which can be a good thing, abroad, which can show maybe that you are interested in many different things. Here, they will be concerned. They'll be asking you questions like, "Oh, why did you not stay in one company for like a longer time?" Which says that in Korea, it's very important um, to be dedicated to the company that you work for. Okay, you need to really put your mind and soul. And basically, when they accept you to work in their company, they accept you as a family member in this company, and they would like for you to stay as long as possible. And they will also do many things for you in return to keep this relationship. So I would recommend, if you need to exaggerate certain things, you need to also consider what things to exaggerate. Let's say you have an experience, like a short experience. Maybe if you apply for Korean company, and especially if you're a foreigner, they would consider, oh, why don't we hire someone who's a foreigner, but with the, great expertise, right? So then for that, you need to have bigger experience that you maybe have. And it's okay. Don't think that you need to, that they will like check each and every fact about you, but do not go like crazy, right? Do not create the resume that you will not be able to talk about, right? So they will also feel that. So it should be in moderation. And well, I don't know, if you work with us, with Habsida, we will basically guide you through all of these steps on what to put on your resume, what to include, and what to exclude in, further details. So yes, self-intro. In the Western countries, this would be a motivation letter. Okay, so when you apply for a certain job, the company requires you to have a motivation letter. So basically, you talk a little bit about yourself, about your background, and then you tell them, oh, why you want to work for this company, right? In Korea, they do not actually ask for motivation letter, which is a good thing. So you don't have to write, tons of motivation letters for every company that you apply for, but they require for you to create a self-intro, which would be just a general introduction of who you are and what is your professional background. Okay. Usually self-intro consists of 4 blocks. The first one is basically about your growing up. So, in what family you grew up, what kind of job your parents did, or something like that. What were your interests back in university? So you talk about your university years, how you spent them, what subjects you were most interested in. Then you talk about your career. This would be your third block. And mostly you talk about all the projects that you did.
No, they didn't give us
So
another
they
job.
see what kind of professional you are and how you usually work. And the
Korea.
last would be your future aspirations. So you need to
Korea.
state what you are looking for in terms of your future goals. And Koreans would really like to see the big picture. Okay, so do not feel shy to talk about your future aspirations on a big scale. Okay, they actually love it. So this self-intro goes usually together with the CV. So basically, this is your CV, and at the bottom there is maybe one A4 list would be okay. So just one page to talk about yourself. Okay. And I would recommend to put maybe about 70% of yourself as a professional and 30% about CVs. I know there are people with two approaches, right? There are people who are sending specifically to the companies that they are interested in, and they only want to see those companies, on, their wish list. And so they only send the CVs to these specific companies. Well, as a foreigner who is applying in Korea for jobs, I would not recommend this approach because, first of all, Korea is still like, well, they are very much open these days to hire foreigners, but still you need to send a lot of resumes. Okay, you need to send as many as you can to get noticed. And after you send as many as you can, I usually recommend to my students who are now studying with us in Habsida, I usually recommend to send them about, well, minimum of 300 resumes per week. I know it's challenging and not all my students can do that, but still my experience until now shows that this gives a certain fruitful results. Okay, so as many as you can, you send as many as you can, and then when you get polls, when you get replies from them, you get more details with the company. You search again what kind of company is that, and you prepare to talk to them at the job interview, right? But to spend time and to read like very specifically about this and that company that you found, or like, oh, does it fit me? Do I fit into their requirements? I would not recommend this approach because basically you just may be missing out on other chances because you cannot foresee all the requirements that the company wants to see in their ideal candidate, right? And since you cannot foresee those, and if you just send to some specific companies, you're basically missing out on other opportunities. So yes, keep that in mind. Quantity over quality in this. Okay, so when you get to the great part of the whole process, when you get to the job interview, you need to be very prepared in Korea. Be prepared for, I guess, two parts. The first part that they will ask you about your experience. This is pretty much very basic. They will just ask about your project. Some of them will ask maybe awkward details about the company. Let's say they might ask you, oh, like, where was this company located? Who was the director of the company? Something like that. Also be prepared to answer these, right? Especially if you exaggerated a little bit of truth. But also, the second part would be many personal questions. As I said, when Koreans give you, they agree to take you and to work with you, right? They basically accept you in this kind of family setting, right? And so in order to accept you in this like family setting, they need to know what kind of person you are, because as much as they value professional skills, they also pretty much on the same level, they value what kind of person you are, if other people who already work in the company will be feeling comfortable to work with you, right? And for them to feel comfortable to work with you, you should be like a nice, outgoing, open person, right? And so be prepared that there might be personal questions about who you are, what kind of person you are, like what you do, why you want to come to Korea, why you're interested in Korea. They also love to ask these questions. Do you speak Korean, or like, do you have any intention on learning Korean? So all of these, like, let's say personal questions, are very normal here. And yes, you need to also be prepared and not answer in a way that, oh, like, this is personal, I'm not ready to talk about this. If you answer this way, you're probably not going to be selected, right? So you need to understand that, and you need to be open and like answer on each and every question just as like naturally. The whole interview, usually, if it's not a group interview, which is another story, sometimes they have group interviews, but if it's just like one-on-one on one or two, then the process is pretty much standard. So you talk a little bit about yourself, about your projects. They ask you some of the personal questions, and then that's pretty much it, right? But again, there are many things that you need to know before you go to the interview, which we also do here. We prepare you for the interview so you can get the most of it. If you are already in Korea and you're looking for a job, and you're already in Korea, and they call you, and let's say you do not speak Korean well, do not please tell them that you do not understand what they say. Okay, if you basically on the phone, if you say, oh, I do not understand what you're saying in Korean, this is pretty much it. They probably will never call you again, and you will not get to the to the most important part, which is a job interview, right? So some of the tips, let's say you can say, oh, I'm in the meeting right now, can I call you back, right? So this phrase, I'm in the meeting right now, can I call you back? Or I'm driving right now, can I call you back? You should like just memorize it, right? And if you get a call and you hear like some big, companies talking to you and you sense that, oh, this company wants to, invite you for a job interview, please do not tell them, oh, I don't understand, can you speak in English? Because if you say, can you speak in English? And if they don't speak English, that's pretty much it, right? So just tell them, oh, I'm in the meeting right now. Can you call me back? Or can you write me a message? This would be the best, right? Oh, can you like write me a message? So if they write you a message, you can just translate it and then you can answer, you can just like talk with them through messaging. And yeah, you will get the interview. Okay.
Because basically they want to schedule interview, right? It's not the big deal, right? And then on interview you can show your best of yours, right?
True. Yes, another thing, which is very obvious, right? You need to be prepared when you go for the interview, but not so many people understand really what it means. And I can tell you that some of my students, they would, go to have an interview, but they would not remember what the name of the company is. They just, know the address, they know what they, need to say or something. But then when they go there and they, if they get asked, oh, like, what's the name of our company? And if you did not memorize the name of the company, well, that's pretty much it too, right? So please research what the company does. And it's very important to show it that you did your research, okay? At the interview, you need to speak in some way that, oh, I saw that you did this projects in your company. I'm specifically interested in doing this, and I can actually contribute in doing this project. So if they sense that you did research, even if it's like very obvious that you did really good research and you like too prepared, it's even better. I know it sounds a bit strange because we think that interviews should be natural so they can see that you are answering honestly, right? And that you didn't really like memorize everything. But when it's not about Korea, right? In Korea, they like to see that you are very prepared. They like to see that some of the parts of the interview, some of the answers that you give at the interview, they are even memorized, and they love it. They feel like, oh, this person really prepared, like he's really interested in getting the jobs. They think that it's showing your attitude. So do not be scared to memorize certain things about the company. And again, please show that you understand what the company does, and please show what your contribution to the company. Like I said, in the resume part, we are writing self-intro, right? It's usually like a one page, you talk about yourself. Now, when you go to the interview, they also like to start basically with the question, tell me a little bit about yourself. Okay. And when they say, tell me a little bit about yourself, they basically give you 1 minute. Okay. It doesn't mean that you need to just sit there and like be like, okay, I'm this person, I was born there, I studied this, and then I worked here, and it goes on and on and on. Like, no, Koreans don't like when the self-intro is too long. So when they say, please tell us a little bit about yourself, they literally give you a minute, right? And in this minute, you need to fit all of the information that can be like, oh, this is interesting. Oh, this can be, we can work with this. And this 1 minute self-intro is also a part of this whole preparation for a job interview, right? And it also should include certain points, like for example, you need to talk about your projects, you need to talk about your stack, you need to talk about your responsibilities, but also somehow you need to tell them that, for example, there was a problem in the company. You need to give them like, examples. Oh, like I did this project, and during like while we are doing this project, like we had these certain issues, and what I did is that, and by doing so, the company gained this and that, right? And by showing this little example, you kind of get them hooked, right? So they're like, oh, okay, this is good. And you need to also show them your soft skills during this 1 minute intro by telling them basically, well, I guess the most trivial example would be that you are teamwork. You're a team worker. You love to work in the team. Koreans love it because they all, like to work together, right? So they do not like when one person is like, let's say you are a really good expert, right? You really know your area well, and you think like, okay, I can actually do everything by myself. I can just sit for 30 hours, whatever, and just do it. But they no, that's not the way you should present yourself. You should present yourself as a team worker that you like to do everything together, and also give some examples of how you manage your work with other people. Okay. So yes, I guess that's about interview for now. Now, there are always, no matter how well you speak Korean, even if your Korean is like, I don't know, fourth, fifth level, whatever, they will still ask you about communication with other teammates, right? They will be like, oh, but I know I can see that you speak Korean, but still, you're not like a native speaker. Maybe there will be some problems. Or let's say you really do not speak a word, or you speak like very basic Korean, right? So they will be like, oh yeah, but how are you gonna, how are you gonna communicate? This is a big problem. So you need to reassure them that there will be no issues with communication, right? Because in Habsida, I personally, we managed to place people and get them jobs, even with when Korean was like really, I'm telling you, like 0.5 level, okay? And it's all depends on how you present yourself, and that you reassure there will be no problem. You either use, translators or whatever, or like if you can tell them that I'm learning it right now, and in 3 months I'm gonna be at this level. Or you can tell them that, for example, your listening maybe is not perfect right now, but you actually understand like 80 or 90% of what they say, right? And so they'll be like, oh, okay, fine, he understands, at least he understands, then we can manage, right? But so yes, please be prepared, because these questions might also come up, and you need to understand how to manage them, because you cannot just like be like, oh yeah, like actually I'm still learning Korean, and yes, I'm not really good at Korean right now. So you cannot give those kind of answers, right? So be prepared to reassure the company, that there will be no problem. And as I said, in Hapshida, people who came to us with like very basic Korean, they still got the jobs. Okay, so it's all doable and manageable.
Yeah, there's like I want to add one thing. Like basically, if they like invite you for the interview, they really want to hire you, right? So and they like even though they know you're foreigners, right? They're like still let's try, right? So they want to like confirm it's okay to work with you. But it doesn't mean that they don't have fears. They will have, but it's despite of them, they ask you, right?
Okay, so if there's a company that you really want to work for, and you send your resume and your, I don't know, self intro, whatever, all the documents, but they did not get, they did not reply, or maybe they called you and they say like, oh, okay, let's have an interview, but then they didn't call back. You can remind about yourself, right? You can like write them, oh, hi, like we talked last week, or like you contacted me and we were about to have a job interview, but we know I didn't get any message. So can you please confirm if there will be a job interview? So do not be afraid of reminding about yourself and that you're interested. Koreans actually love when you show some initiative, and then that you show that you're willing to work specifically for this company. So it's okay to write them. Do not like bombard them with calls or like messages, but yeah, it's okay to remind about yourself, and that to show them additionally that yes, you are still interested in the position, and that you'd like to have
You guys, but we'll answer all your questions, don't worry. And we're here for you for us to help. Okay, so basically slightly about me. I'm as a foreigner, as all of you, I guess, all of you, right? I graduated with finance in St. Petersburg, and then I worked in investment banking for 5 years before coming to Korea to do my MBA in KAIST 11 years ago. Oh my God, 11 years ago. Okay, I gained a lot of weight, by the way. Anyway, so what did I do here? Like I did a lot of startup works, right? And I worked for accelerators, and I found it's a lot of companies, startup especially, are lacking good developers, right? And unlike other like very motivated people who stay long, work long for one company, developers are tend to switch jobs because in Korean company you cannot raise your salary very quickly, even like especially when you like just started, right? As a junior, right? They don't want to raise your salary like 20, 30%. That's why you need to change job to raise it, right? And this create a problem, right? A lot of good developers going to bigger companies, right? And as in the other hand, as a foreigners, it's hard to build a decent career other than like, for example, overseas marketing or translator or some other fields, right? Exceptions, right? So that's why 4 years ago we created a company, right? The helping foreigners, only foreigners, to learn and to study IT, some specialties, and then to match them with the startups, especially startups. Right now, it's not really startups, not only startups, but most of them are startups. Okay. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about myth about IT jobs in Korea, and yeah, just tell you that we and Jenny personally, we place 72 foreigners already into Korean companies. So I mean, I guess we are the most foreigners that we place. Nobody even can imagine, right? When we started 4 years ago, can you imagine we could place anybody, right? But now we're confident enough that we can place anybody, right? Even they study 72 people. Yeah. Okay, so like who are IT guys, right? IT guys are those who work, I mean, um, for example, in IT companies, right? But thanks for you guys, right? For this time, IT guys more and more needed in the conventional businesses, right? They want to be digitalized and they want to do something else. And any company, let's say more than 100 people, they need IT guy, IT department, and so on, so on, so on, so on. So basically, in let's take target market carrot, right? B2, it's like B2C. What is this? P2P used good a mobile app. We have a project manager. Project manager, they're like a manager, but they're not over developers, right, or designers. They actually earn less money, and but they kind of manage it, right? Because if developers directly speak to client, it might create a lot of problems from both parts, right? So basically, project manager is responsible for translating technical, like backendish, in a little bit introverted speech to the like normal human speech, if I would put it like this way, right? And this person is very important. However, in Korea, not that common. It should be more common. I see clearly the value, but for now, not that common. These days, it's a little bit getting better because, like for example, they sometimes have some Vietnamese overseas developing team, and they have to have a project manager. But still, project manager, product owner, hard to get, especially as a foreigner, because not so many jobs, and you need to speak perfectly, right? Okay, backend. Backend basically working with databases, and they have them different languages, like Java, C Sharp, C++, Node.js, and Python, right? In Korea, historically, it's Java and C, right, languages, because all Java and .NET used to be .NET, right, being used for bigger companies like Samsung, and then people from Samsung open their smaller companies and still use Java, right? Because unlike other countries where Java only used by big multinational companies, Java used widely even for smaller projects as well. And we teach Java actually, yeah, because of this. DevOps, it's engineers who like working with the server, right? So it used to be the server was on site, but now all the servers are in cloud, like AWS. They have even neighbor cloud. No, Kakao Cloud, it don't exist. Neighbor Cloud exists, right? SK Cloud, whatever, right? You buy and you use it, right? By the way, DevOps as a separate title is also not very common in Korea, right? DevOps usually being like DevOps tasks are being managed by senior backend guy, right? So we also teach a little bit of DevOps because you as a backend, you will do DevOps. Like it's a given. Front end, very simple. You need to learn JavaScript. It's both used for mobile and for web, right? Mobile developers, Swift, Android, Flutter, and React Native, right? You will find it's very interesting that so the little backend developers, not so many front end. For the front end, it's like only 3,000 positions, right? And let's say Java is 2.5 thousand, and C plus maybe 3,000, right? Or something like 2,000, like. But they just write front end differently. They write JavaScript, React separately, but they all front end. So if all Java, it is much more jobs. JavaScript, much more jobs. It's all good. Mobile, they still use Swift, Android, and Kotlin. You don't need to think that they only need to use Kotlin because of Samsung or Android. No, no, no. And these days, also Flutter is getting popular. Design. There is a UX designer, product designer, graphic designer, or whatever design it is, but normally it's called UX UI designer, but you don't do only UX UI, you do everything. You even design presentation, leaflets, whatever you do. If you call designer, people usually don't understand what it is, but you will need to do everything, right? But UX designer, probably the most commonly, they are responsible for interface, right? Also testing. Testing, you have manual tester and auto tester. Auto tester, like it's not AI test or whatever, it's like testing using scripts written in different languages, usually Java and Python, right? So testing, it's a very interesting job, but there's also not so many testers because developers are kind of a little bit arrogant. It's like, oh, nobody needs to test. How do you need to test? And so they usually tested by client, and it create a lot of problems, right? So testing, getting stronger. But testing is also not so easy. That's why I would recommend you guys to have more opportunities by learning some like Java, for example, or some developers, right? Because it's very close. And data science. Data science is a big thing. For example, Java developer 2.5 thousand openings right now, but data science 7,000 openings, 5,000 openings, 6,000 openings, so on. But it doesn't mean they hire. They don't hire nobody, right? There's a 50, almost 50,000 AI developer shortage expected in 3 years, right? So people don't really hire. They would try to hire, but there's not so many people, right? And they sometimes hiring without understanding what it is, right? So it has also different types. Data analyst is more like a manager plus data analysis, right? Data scientist is more like data analysis plus programming, right? And data engineer preparing data, right? Not necessarily be programming, right? And ML engineer is hardcore AI developer, right? Which is very hard, right? But still, there's a lot of companies who need it and they pay a lot. Like prompt engineer, sometimes by saying AI, they mean prompt engineer, which usually working with existing API. You need to be developer, not necessarily AI developer, right? So you only work with existing models, but most of the time, most of the companies, like 19, maybe more than 90%, they use existing, not their own model. So this is also pretty popular. And there's different blockchain developers with only using the cryptocurrency projects related, right? There's not so many, but they also pay a lot. So this is briefly about like different parts, right? And now I tell you about like general, as I said, like actually you will be surprised, but there's a kind of like a little bit of crisis in Korea going on. And in this crisis, they actually uh, looking towards us, foreigners, right? They see that a lot of companies want to hire foreigners, right? They see that they expect that it would be like 10% of foreigners rather than now like a two, right? In 20 years, right? And they are actually looking favorably, right? The startup visa open up, other visas open up, there's digital nomad visa, rumored to be open up soon, right? So on. So it will give us a lot of opportunities. So they are no. This actually special Indian program and that you can hire Indian developers from overseas, but it didn't, but they only like hire maybe 20 or 30 or 50 people a year using the some government projects, right? But we ourselves, right, we already placing more. We place like 2 or 3 people every like months, right? But we expect to graduate all around 100 people this year. Okay, so as you can see, there's like 2.3 UX UI designers and Java 2.5, and you see AI is almost 6,000. And for example, if you're looking, for example, if you speak Russian and you're looking for like Russian related jobs, right, they only like 300 jobs, right? So competition is very fierce, but in the IT field, there's a lot of jobs, so you don't need to wait and you can apply. So let's go through the myths, right? The Korean companies don't want to hire foreigner. It's not a myth. They have nothing to against us. They have nothing against foreigners, right? They just don't know this option existed, right? And when they see your face, nicely photoshopped on Saramin, right? They will say, "Wow, who is that person?" Right? And they're curious, right? And curious, who is looking in Saramin? Not IT guy, right? Not like maybe manager, HR manager, or maybe director, right? They look and say, wow, if I bring this guy, they would be actually my benefit, right? They were like, wow, how do you find it? It's good, right? So they want to hire you. They want to like see, but they're afraid the communication is hard. That's why they can kind of like curious about it. If they prove them wrong, they want to be proved wrong, right? That was they want to hire. I, for example, have personal startup friends, and they have nothing to do with hiring developers. They should like hiring developers, right? Because developers, not necessarily they work better, right? Or they're not really more affordable than other people because everybody gets the same salary, but they're more like a loyal, right? They're really thankful for opportunity and they like work longer hours, right? And they actually, it's at least our graduates like are decent in developing, right? They're not like stars, but like they're decent, which actually hard to find from normal like Korean I mean like boot camps or even universities, right? For example, some of the universities recently I saw the statistic graduate from 150 developers, only 10 got a job, right? Okay, topic sixth grade is a must. No, they don't care at all. They don't even know what topic is. Even here is misspelled, right? So basically, topic is no need, right? So you just need to show that you can understand them or at least understand them, or better to speak something, right? So communication is the problem, and it will be improved because they will have faith that it will improve, right? So yeah, you just need to show you do something like any certificate and so on. No need. You must be computer science bachelor. Actually, it's not true at all because in Korea, unlike some other countries, right? And actually, on contrary to commonly other professions in Korea, right? You do not to be computer science because not most of the people they are not computer science. You go to any company with developers, only like in best case 50% of them computer science because in Korea you go for better institution, right, rather than better suitable major, right? Better institution will give you more opportunities, right? So you go to a better institution and then you switch to whatever major you wanna. They see look at institution more, right? That's why they understand that computer science doesn't need to be from institution. They can be from anywhere, right? Bootcamp, whatever, learn ourselves. They're not going to be surprised, right? But of course, if, for example, you from computer science from Seoul there and have like graduate like master there, that will count as experience as well. Oh, okay. I'm going backwards. Okay. Neo program. Okay. This actually not really. If it's more like your desire, right? In the beginning, if you have some programming skills, it would be better for you, easier for you to start. But after like 2 months, you're already in the same position with anybody, and it's okay, right? So basically, yeah, it's a little bit easier to start if you know already something. But even if you don't know, the best kind of like how to say the best factor, right, that you're going to be graduate is not your skills, it's more your desire, right? And we're going to constantly nag you, or you're going to constantly remind you to study, and then you will graduate, right? So it's really, and programming is kind of skill, right? So if you do it 2 hours per day, you will do it. Just one task per day you do, and you will graduate, and it will be good programming because it's not really kind of like a science, whatever, right? It's just a skill, like playing a game. Okay, I'm too young, but you old. Okay, actually, this is one of the few like advantages of us foreigners over like Lone people because we usually younger, right? We finish younger. We don't need to go to military service. We kind of like 22. We already bachelor graduates or whatever, right? And a lot of people started their career in late 20s or 30s, right? In Korea, so it's fine. So if you're 30, for some back home countries, you might be considered as old, right? Or for already like why not 5 years experience, right? But in Korea, it's totally fine, right? So you could, but for most of you guys, it's not even a problem, right? For example, we used to place like 18 years old, 20 years old very easily, right? They actually like it, right? Sometimes they, oh, you don't go university, you go say to us, oh, they really like it as well, right? Okay, but if you are 40, this is what Jenny said before, that you will be considered as a manager, right? Mostly, right? And then it might just take longer, but it's also possible. I think we had like 3 or 4 students over 40 who got it. Like the companies won't sponsor it. That's not also not a problem, right? They don't know what to sponsor it. They assume it's difficult. It's not that difficult as they assume, right? So you need to explain them that it's not that difficult. They just sign a contract, and with the contract they go, and in 2 3 weeks you will get it. But you also need to make it easier for them to hire you. You can say, oh, I can work right now as a freelancer. Meanwhile, my visa is being verified and you will see my impact. So your goal is to sit on this chair, right? Like in front of computer and start working, right? No matter how you're going to be like a contract. Because if you're working already, they never kind of like, kick you out and don't give you visa. They always pay for your time. They always pay. That's not a problem, right? Even for example, they don't have money, they're going bankrupt, they still will pay, right? We have some cases like this, but we make sure our like graduates they pay full, right? So no problem at all, right? Law works here in Korea, right? And it's suitable for you as well. So you just need to explain.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna add something. Let's say you graduated with Habsida and you are in your job search. Not only we support you over your educational period, we also support you over the period when you get the job, right? So we prepare you for the interviews, we give you the full support in this area, and then when you get the job, we stay with you for 3 months more until your probation period is finished, and we guide you through all and each day how to navigate the first days, because the first days are the most important days in the company for yourself and for the company also. You need to figure out the relationship, the dynamics between the team with the manager and all of that, and it can be challenging if you are not very accustomed with the country. And so we also give the full support during these 3 months until we are sure that you are in a safe place and you will, fulfill all the contract that you signed. So yes, I think this is the best offer on the market for now, because we not only we just give the education, but we support you through the whole process.
Yeah, I mean, we have specialized foreigners is our kind of like a limit and benefit, right? Okay, so like, okay, what we do very briefly, we do programming designers. We have three programming courses: backend, frontend, and AI, right? AI lasts for 12 months, and backend, frontend, and UX design lasts for 7 months, right? Plus 1 month, we always give you real project from our clients, because we're not only educators, we also like SI company, so we do project for hire, right? We do a lot of IT projects. We have accreditation, so there's no VAT, right? And we will pay you, we'll give us like certificate, and then you can go with the certificate and get like tax refund, right? We have for like 4 years, we have more than 400 students actually, and 35 graduates already working, and more than 90% of graduates are employed, right? Okay, this I guess I will like very briefly mention about it. For example, there's a Hussein, he's a Korean university graduate. He couldn't really code, even though he's software engineer. But now then, like he already got his fifth job last year. Fifth job, can you imagine? Five company already sponsored him, so no problem at all. And there's Irina, who also graduated not with design, and he learned design once she was like taking care of the baby, and she found a job very quickly, very quickly. There's a Sergey, he used to be data analyst, come to Korea, learned coding Java, and he got his first job, like, and he was even off F1 visa, right? So they changed visa for him, right? And he got very good job. He got like 50 million won per, or 55 million won per
Salary.
like annual salary, right? Which is like on the higher end, on the higher end. And now he actually got last summer he got like headhunted to a Netherlands company in Europe.
Nice.
This our like one of the oldest graduate, Andrew. He 44. He used to be a translator in Samsung or like in Hyundai, and he didn't grow at all, right? So he learned Java and a little bit JavaScript, and he got a very good job. And actually, he had no problem to getting job, right? There's Daniel, maybe some like your guys, English instructor, which also felt a little bit stuck on his job. And even though he found a job very quickly, maybe his first pay was less than he was doing as English, but later on he got promoted and so on. And it's like, like what good thing about being IT, every day you learn and therefore you increase your price. Okay, we also like do a lot of big projects ourselves that you will be also touching upon. And yeah, basically that's it. I can show you very briefly about what our project is. Not what our platform. We have our own operating platform, what 100% in English. There's a lot of tasks. It's based on tasks. So you watch tasks, you do tasks, and then real mentor, like with real experience, will help you. Also, we have some kind of revisor of things because it's like AI also implemented, so it will help you to guys to go through course, right? So okay, so let me see it. First question, right, was what should be minimum years of experience per workplace? Like not to be considered as a mover. Jenny, what would you say?
Uh, per workplace, do you mean like in Korea
In,
or
yeah, for the CV.
for the CV in Korea? Minimum a year.
Minimum year. Like. So Assad, make sure that I mean you don't need to like we're not uh giving you kind of like idea to cheat or whatever, right? It just like you can exaggerate a little bit, right? And then if you do projects, even if it's not high, right, you can still include it because you also
Yes.
did some project, right? But yeah, it's like it shouldn't be, for example, 5 different workplace, 1 month each. That's not gonna work. Better include it in a project and use this as a one experience. Let's say for like IT projects, whatever, right? Freelance or whatever, right? Use it as one experience. That's a trick. From Leah. Hello, how is the process of interview? How many interviews we'll do? Calls, operational manager, as actually Jenny already said, it would be normally 2 interviews, right? First interview, there would be with like HR,
Let me answer. So
rarely HR, right? With your like IT guys. Okay, yeah, sure, good, Jenny.
it depends. It depends on the company, okay? Let's say in general, you get to have two interviews, right? The first
Mhm.
one is an intro, you talk with HR or like with the person in charge, let's say, not necessarily HR, maybe like a manager. And if they like you and you like them, whatever, then you go to the second stage and then you talk with the board and with the director or with the team lead, right? And then there they, because you already got approved, pre-approved at the first stage, they will just mostly look on what kind of person you are. They will maybe ask some like questions to see how you answer, how you deal with some tricky questions, right? So it probably won't be much about your, like professional, maybe that also, but they will just see what kind of person you are in general. But if you get pre-approved at the first stage, there's a high chance that you will get hired.
Yeah,
Basically,
yeah. Sorry.
two parts. Yes.
Yeah. So basically, like if they pre-approve, they will say, "Oh, okay, check out this guy. He looks decent," and then he'll bring another guy. Will be same interview basically, right? So that's good. But with some cases, they just invite you over to just talk details, right? When you can start, like how much money you
Right,
want,
right.
and so on,
Cooperation.
so on. Yeah. Okie dokie. Next from Solene, are there any web no, 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 no. Oh, Mike. I missed
Right.
Mike. Sorry, Mike. Would it be okay to include experience from other fields? Good question. And related to the IT industry. Let's say someone has 3 years experience in teaching and is trying to grab a job in IT. What do you say?
Okay, so you can definitely put your experience, especially if you stayed in Korea for some years. You cannot hide all of these years, right? Obviously, if they check your ID, they will see that you arrived, I don't know, 5 years ago. You cannot just say that you did nothing, right? So yes, you can put unrelated IT experience on your resume, but there is a thing that you do not please do not overwhelm this experience with your IT experience, right? So you can definitely put it, but do not make it as, like 5 years of or like 10 years of English teaching and like 1 year in IT, right? So that would be a little too
Yeah.
much.
And
You know,
try to drop some name. For example, you did some like English teaching for say Samsung, right? You put Samsung and then you did English teaching. They like names.
right. Same with the universities. They like, big, there are three major big universities in Korea. So even if you graduated in some, ridiculous major, like
Which we
book,
respect.
whatever you got into, it doesn't matter because they'll be like, oh, you did graduated from Yonsei or from Korea
Yeah, that's
University.
important.
Same,
They,
but same with the
Mhm.
company.
Yeah,
Same
they
with the
just
company,
don't know. It's easy, yeah,
right?
for foreigners.
Work for Samsung or for LG, like all these big names, it will work out.
Okay, Saline wanna know, are there any website more foreigner friendly than others to apply job offers, job careers, or etc.?
Actually, these days, I don't know if you heard about it, but there's a special Saramin page, like a daughter of Saramin, but specifically for foreigners. And the companies who post jobs there, they specifically are looking for foreigners and they are willing to hire foreigners.
Yeah,
So, yes, there are.
yeah. Exactly, but I would say they're all not good. I would say, I mean, they are for foreigners, but nobody really checking, right? Is there like sometimes they make it for foreigners? For example, there's some website that's totally for foreigners. There seems a lot of jobs, but for example, our graduates apply and never get any answer, right? So maybe it's for the
So then you need to remind about
yeah, I need
yourself.
to remind, yeah, but still, like Koreans jobs, in Korean portals and more updated and so on. Maybe people just forget when they
Guys,
publish it.
for those who do not speak Korean well, let's say, and you are like afraid of going at like major sites of Job Korea or Saramin, right? You don't really need to speak Korean to apply, right? So you
Yeah,
just create a resume. There's a blue button, and you can
yeah,
just see if you see like IT or if you just learned like 5 Korean words, like I don't know, like a
yeah,
JavaScript or whatever. You can just push the blue button and see what
yeah.
happens, right?
I mean,
So.
after a couple of days, you will be okay, right? And of course, we will help you with this. But even if you don't like study with us, you can do it on yourself. For example, you can ask any Korean friends to like just proofread what you wrote. It's all gonna be fine, right? But I'm just saying, don't just use only LinkedIn or only English speaking job portals. It will limit your search like very much. Okay, Nadia, Theo, Nadia. Yeah, Nadia. Okay, asking if CV and schedule interview will conduct via will be in Korean. Yes, okay. During the interview itself, important for us to showcase language, right? Not the problem, and they understand that we are foreigners. So during the interview, can it be done both in basic Korean and then mainly English? First question, Rennie.
Yes, you can. They are very
Mhm.
fine with that. They understand that if they invite a foreigner to have a job interview, there, might be some Konglish. We call it Konglish. It's when you use Korean, and but then you integrate some of the English words. I do not recommend talking 100% in English, to be honest, and because from my experience, it's always better when you try to speak Korean and then you engage some English words while you're speaking Korean. If you're like really zero and you tell them, oh, like, oh, can I say this in English? They might be fine with that. Okay, it's okay. You can try, or like you can. Some of the students, they were like even typing the answers into the translator
Oh
and
yeah, I mean,
typing
yeah,
it back, and so it
yeah.
was like this type of communication. They still got hired. Okay,
Oh yeah, I
so
mean,
there are many different ways, but like I would recommend to show them that you try to speak Korean because they will value it much more than you just like go full English.
efforts. Yeah, your efforts, guys. Yeah. Okay, and aside from us sending out resumes, are there companies, Habsida partners with to certain roles you can apply to? Yeah, there are we have more than like 70 companies that our graduates work for, and sometimes they need more, right? They ask us directly. Sometimes we go for some partnership with the companies, right? Sometimes our clients want to hire developers after we finish IT projects. This happens, right? In this case, we source it and we recommend some of the graduates that we like. We like everybody, we recommend also, and or for example, we send to graduates the links that they can apply preferably, right? It's possible too, right? But just it's not just exclusively, right? I think it's like 20 to 80, right? 80% like from like unrelated to us jobs, and 20% are getting jobs through like related to us. But yeah, maybe in future we're working on it. It's going to be more and more and more.
No,
Uh,
but we also have one partner, which is a government institution that this is the partner that connects basically our graduates with the companies that contact them. And so they do this matchmaking thing. So basically you prepare your resume, you send it to us, to me, then I connect your resume to the matchmaking agent, and then, the whole process starts. So this is a great opportunity also for those who are looking for jobs specifically, in Korea, because the matchmaking process is organized the way that there is a direct connection between the employee, like the potential employee, and the company.
Yeah, for example, if you're younger than 35, there's some projects that, for example, if company hires you, they can even get some portion of your salary back. Okay, from Diora, um, do Korean companies often use application tracking system ATS to filter
Oh,
out
you skip,
resumes?
you skip Yashu.
Huh?
Yashu, there's Yashu.
No, your shoe is next. Okay, okay. No, 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 you sure? I'm not that yet. And if so, are there any specific resumes, templates in Korea or requirements we should follow to optimize our resume for ATS, like automatic tracking system?
Mm.
I think like for Saramin, there's not a such thing. At least it's not widely used. And for us as a foreigners, our graduates normally go to companies like a startups or SMEs with like more than 10 but less than 200 employees. This company do not use ATS, right? Actually, bigger companies as well, they do not use ATS as well because they use kind of like you apply for your job. Like for example, they open like let's say in February and you apply and they screen they might screen with resumes, right? But you still apply on their template, so it's not a problem. Okay. Okay. But for LinkedIn, for example, big companies, European companies, American, like Western companies, yeah, they use ATS for sure. And is this like we cannot really recommend because they use different like resumes, but for Saramin, everything they you need to use their template. There's a two buttons in Saramin. You never upload it. You need to fill it in, right? They like to fill it in. Any recommendation to build a good portfolio in data science? I mean, data science, you need to have projects. You have to have projects, right? You need to show that you can do it and you can do similar what they want to like. and you just do it a lot. If, for example, you don't, we will give you a project, but for example, if you want to find it yourself, you can find on the websites, right? What's Oshima called, I don't remember the name, and you can find these projects and you can participate in kind of like crowdfunding, and you will try to do this project as many as you can. And also, if you're university, you can ask for your professor to give you some project or to be engaged in the research as well. But of course, like the more project, the better. If you get internship non-paid in the company, do we still need a part-time confirmation from immigration once we apply for can start working? Actually, non-paid internship are not very common in Korea. Maybe Jenny can like
Um,
elaborate.
Unpaid, not paid internships. Yes,
Yeah,
it's not pretty common. If they accept you as an intern, they will still
they will
pay you.
pay. Yeah,
Yes, they will pay you. So there is no such a thing as unpaid internship. But so basically, if you get an internship, you need to also have a certain visa to be able to do the internship. But there are many different scenarios. So basically, you can do your internship first, and then let's say 3 months internship, and your visa is ready, and then you can start working, right? So you do not really need to wait until your visa is in on your hands to start working. You can do the internship and then transit to the full-time position. But
right.
the internships are usually paid.
Yes, usually paid, but if there is not paid, of course, you cannot get any confirmation for your immigration, right? They will not consider it as employment, right? Unfortunately, right? So you'll need to have a contract, and contract should say a specific amount, and this amount not small, I think like 42, but like you better check with immigration. From Nadia, Theo, for hiring companies network, they mix of both large companies and small medium enterprise, usually as SMEs and startups, right? Larger companies, we we're looking for them. We're constantly reminding them. Actually, one of our grads was very close to get hired in Kupang, right? And another guy was going through like Kara Tamgin market, right? There's actually a lady, a developer. She worked in SK and KT, but they was like their daughters, right? His daughters not that hard to get, right? But the main one is pretty hard. But we have also like developer network, right? And like have a two parties for all of our graduates, and we invite some foreigners who work in a bigger company. There's not so many, right? There may be 20 to 30 foreigners working in bigger companies. Let's say like Nvidia or something. Yeah, they can speak about their experience. But I actually got hired like when there was a golden age of hiring. It was like 5 years ago, 4 years ago. Yeah. How is the schedule of the course like? How is the class conducted in frequency? Okay, there's not, I can really go into details, but basically it's a self-paced course taught 100% online. You can do at any time that you want, right? And then there is a very important online session with a mentor, live mentors, right? Group to one or one to one, right? And then there's constantly exams and like reminders. You need to study 2 to 3 hours per day. I mean, 2 hours per day would be okay. From Nana, do you have a service that just help with finding a job? I mean, we actually try to do it, but we realize that skills with if person say, "Oh, I have a good skills," turns out skills not very well, and this we cannot really recommend, right? That's why still, if you have a good skills, you need to go through a course. But if you're already good developer, you will finish in 2 months instead of 7, right? So you need still to get a course and get a project. It's project goal to your portfolio. The different story, if for example you already proven as a developer, let's say you have like 2 years commercial experience somewhere in other country. In this case, we can also check you, for example, give you just a project, and if you did it good, then we will go straight to find you a job. Is the company certificate enough to get an E7 visa sponsorship? No, our certificate is not a work certificate. It's a Hagwon additional education certificate. It will play a role when you apply for the visa, but not decisive role, right? And also, it's not considered to be higher education, so we cannot. But we have some partners with universities, right? So maybe we can also like recommend you to go to IT university if you're foreign, if that's your goal. Does including my CV is from Salman Zafar. Does including my CV in Korean create the false impressions that I speak Korean? Okay, good question. For AI engineer, recently MS in AI with 8 years of experience in corporate software engineer, how can I present my qualifications the way that I was appearing overqualified for beginning AI job? Okay, Salman Zafar, a very good question and a little bit like braggy. If you have 8 years already in AI and MS, like I mean, there's not a really big problem to find a job. So basically, if you write in Korean, right, it doesn't mean you speak Korean. Nobody will think that you speak Korean, even if they think this is not your problem, right? Not perceived, right? Of course, sometimes they will be surprised, but don't take it on your side. You're not fooling anybody. This up to them, right? To decide. First, second one, if you have 8 years experience, you should apply not for juniors, right?
Yes.
There's no point to apply for juniors. You will show up and they will think, oh, something weird coming out, right? Or what's going on, right? Why apply for juniors, right? You apply for mid, right? Okay, if you have 8 years, apply for like from 4 years, right? Don't apply from zero, right? If you apply for zero, it means it's June, right? If it is also coming all the way like on contrary, if you're June, apply for up to 3 years. I mean, let them decide if they're gonna take you or not. But write your resume in Korean. If we get internship non-paid at the company, oh, is it still same question, right? Okay,
Hello,
okay,
first
okay.
of
I think I answered. Ah, it's for direct questions. Okay. Next one is Mojitaba. Hello, first of all, I would like to thank you. Okay, you're welcome. Now my question is, I am Muslim, so I have dietary restriction. Will Korean company be understanding with that? And also, do foreigners get bullied, treated poorly in workplaces? Very great question, Jenny. Please answer.
Okay, first of all, yes, they definitely understand if you're a Muslim that you are, you can't eat certain foods, so they will not like force you, like in the story when the guy could not or did not want to eat some
Yes,
Koreans. Okay, because the guy was not Muslim, he was just like a normal person. I don't know. So, but if they understand and if they see that you have certain, religion or whatever your beliefs that do not allow you to eat certain food, they definitely will not, force it on you, right? So do not worry. They will be very understanding and they will be even trying hard to like maybe help you with the food and everything. So this should be not a problem. Next question. Foreigners get bullied.
bullet.
Actually, it's all the same. When you get to the Korean company, it's not like, oh, you're a foreigner, so like, we can do like this and that.
No,
If the company has this whatever, like bullying culture, whatever, this will, expand to all members, like Koreans, foreigners, whatever, right? So it's not something that they do to foreigners. On the contrary, I would say, and this is a good thing, and this is what I personally like about Koreans in Korea, is that if you're a foreigner, they will make all the extra effort, all the extra effort.
I'm
Quentin,
mute. I'm mute. I'm mute.
Quentin, can you? Yes.
Yeah, I'm
They
mute.
make more efforts to accommodate you, and they are very welcoming and helping, So on the contrary, they would try their best to like help you and to do, they are very welcoming. They always try to, help. And like, if you have some questions, they're always ready to help you. So I would say if you're a foreigner, you get treated better than Koreans.
Yeah, but don't like try to take it too much, right?
Yes,
Uh-huh.
but like I said,
Yeah.
you should understand the dynamics.
Yeah, Koromas asking which area are you focusing more practical and theoretical studies? We do theoretical and then we give a lot of tasks because we wanna, first of all, when you get a job, normally you have no problem, right? And because you know how to code. So practical is first, right? But of course you need to have theoretical background as well, and we will give you because you need to answer questions, right? And you need to understand the deep about it. Also for Mojibat, Mojitaba. Also for applying for jobs in Job Korean Army, should I apply with a Korean CV? As we said, CV should be filled in Saramin in Korean.
Yes, you can,
Okay.
if you want, if you feel more comfortable, you can just write first. Let's say you are like writing your duties. You can write them, let's say in bullet points in Korean, and then same content in English if it makes you feel more comfortable or whatever. If you want to show them that you are like a foreigner, that you're not
Right.
like, but it should be both in Korean and in English.
Yes. Are you by any chance hiring people? Yes, we have 20 people right now. We constantly hiring and depends on IT projects that we have. We normally hiring our grads, right? Out of 10 developers, we have six at our grades, our graduates, right? And for example, if you have teaching, for example, some people would like to teach, right? And there's actually few of these people, right? And we will be very welcome you as a mentor after you get at least 1 or 1.5 years of experience. But we hire for other position as well. As for example, you already have experience commercial that we can always consider. If we are on a time from Celine, if we are on a time limited visa, how can we apply for your class? Do you provide any visa sponsorship to stay in Korea and then search for? No, we don't provide any sponsorship, right? You cannot with our certificate or with a proof that you study with us extend your visa, but we can recommend you different options. We can recommend you maybe some companies, or we can recommend you maybe like some of the people actually do Korean classes, right? And that's why they stay. But you don't even need to stay in Korea, right, to study with us. You can go back to your country, study with that, and then come back to find a job, right? That's also
Right,
possible.
because there is a job seeking visa.
Yeah, but if you graduate university here, right? If you graduate
Oh,
university here. I see the class schedule organized by months. Can you graduate program? Yes, you can graduate totally. You can graduate faster. The fastest was to 2.5 months for Java developer course. Yeah, it was very fast, and yes. But on the contrary, you can also graduate later if you don't study. Yeah, this we will constantly remind you and nag you, but it's up to you, right? Okay, special tuition price in February, so, but we okay, we March, yeah, we March. Let's do 5th March or 15th March, okay? Yes. Yeah, there's not a trick, marketing trick, but that would be a good one, right? Okay. John Boo Boom, what are the key differences between a Korean resume and Western style resume? The company sponsor visa for international applicants and how competitive is this, right? Okay, we already explained the Korean resume written in Korean. In this, you emphasize like you emphasize photo, you emphasize project, you name drop as many as you can, right? And this, but in terms of structure and so on, it's not that different, right? Do companies sponsor visa? Yes, they sponsor, but much of graduate being sponsored, but you need to qualify to get sponsored, right? For example, if you graduate Korean university, no problem. If you graduate foreign university, yeah, they need to have experience. So while you studying with us, you will need to find a project or a company that will give you a project in your country, and then it will count as experience as well. How can Salman Zafar, how can we apply for job at Habsida? It's all, like Salman Zafar, almost like we ask him to do it. Like we ask him to do it. Can you ask this sort of questions? Okay, we will provide you a link and like via like a channel that you're right now in to join here. You can ask for the link and then you can apply. Or you can just Google habsida.com. Yeah, it will go. I will just drop you right here, guys. Don't get me wrong, right? We wanna you guys to study with us, right? But even if you don't study with us, we always appreciate more foreigners going to IT jobs and generally create positive feedback. And we want to help you guys in general, right? But also, like, we would welcome you here. I have a J1 visa now. It's possible to change the work. J1 is very different, right? We work a lot with J1, right? And it's like semi-successful, right? If you have a J1, they don't like you to change it, right? Because they kind of confused. They might say, "Oh, I can go back," and they change it, go back, and it's like, why did you apply J1 in the first place, right? But our primarily goal is to make you a developer, as in you will be good developer, and you good, and you will get offers, right? And sometimes it means that you will get offers from overseas, right? But even if opportunity appears in Korea, that's also possible. Can you also recommend? Okay, there was a recent case when, for example, he couldn't get. He was Juan. He got hired, right? But they needed to put different title for him, right? Okay. Can you also recommend resume template to follow? It's just Sarmin template. You follow Sarmin template. Matt, do Korean companies do remote video interviews? I'm wondering about how interviews might work for those who are abroad when applying. Flying to Korea for interview, yeah, it will be very expensive, I assume. If they are our partners, for example, right, we know them, we can arrange remote interviews, right? And if you apply, for example, through, let's say, LinkedIn, this can be arranged, but LinkedIn is not so many jobs, right? But if Sarami, they will expect you to show up.
right.
Very rare case they're not gonna because they wanna see you. They wanna see you. And they don't like, okay, Korea is different in this case because they do not like outsource overseas, right? They want to keep everything in place, especially small companies. From Peters, is it okay to use a photo with a dyed hair on yours? Good question. No idea. How about Jenny?
No, I would. I mean, dyed what color? It depends. If you're like if you're a foreigner, I mean, not looking Asian, let's say, not like Koreans, and then if your hair is like, I don't know, orange, maybe they think it's your natural hair. They will not even understand that you dyed it or not dyed it. But if it's violet or purple, I don't not recommend having this type of hair on your resume. Yes.
Really? I thought this would be more memorable, no?
Well, yeah, memorable, and then just pass.
Oh, really? Okay. I don't know. I don't know. May I don't know. Maybe it's good because
Okay, you can, I mean, okay, guys, you need to understand, you need to look like friendly and nice and open. And sometimes, for them, because they're already willing to hire foreigners, so for them, it's already like a big step, like they're taking a foreigner. But then if it's like this foreigner is like covered with tattoos and like, purple hair, it's too much for them, right? They're like,
yeah, but
oh,
if you have one, don't like shave, right?
if you have what?
If you have one already, like don't shave, right? Then shave it.
Don't shave,
Oh,
but you can
okay,
just
okay.
maybe like,
You
you
find
can
different
throw
picture. Find different picture. All right.
this. Okay.
Saline, I think it might be very hard to apply for job in Korea from our home country without doing probation period. Probation period, it doesn't matter. You do probation period or you don't do probation period. Okay, sorry, let's put it another way. You will do probation period when you hire in Korea. You will do at least 2 months. Normally 3 months you will do, but it's already contract employment. It's not like you do like intern without contract. You will have a contract, right? So on the paper is no different, right? And usually you will get it, right? You will get it. So if you don't want to fire you, they will fire you before probation ends, right? But then you will get it. So like it's like we're not really kind of immigration, right? So we can talk about it, right? I'm just saying like there's always the way, right? If the company likes you, they will find a way. For example, you can work the freelance for now while you like doing visa change or whatever, right? They will understand it, like, and they will be favorable. But remember, if they really want to hire you, if they don't really want to hire you, they're not gonna bother, right? So it's gonna be a case by case situation. Can I finish in one month course? I mean, theoretically it's possible, right? But it would be very hard because it need to do a lot of projects, right? Okay. But yeah, but it's possible, right? Also, there's no more questions, so you can guys ask questions, any question right now. If there's no more questions, I thank you guys, and I will record this session, right? And you can also ask for the recording, no problem, with the manager from the manager, right? And happy is our biggest so far, right? With like 60 people almost, right? We appreciate your time, and sorry it was a little bit rushed in the end because we want to finish like in 90 minutes, right? And thank you for getting 90 minutes out of your busy evening. And I hope we're gonna see you another time. And okay, three more questions while I was giving a very long. Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you guys. And yeah, I hope it was very
Please keep
helpful.
working with us and
Yeah.
getting jobs in Korea.
Okay. Thank you very much.